Alright everybody, welcome back to another Friday Night Magic tournament at Lost Legion Games and Comics in South Charleston, West Virginia. We're right into the action here with our round one pairing. On the right we see Vince Smith, who's playing a mono black homebrew, leaning more towards control than to anything else. And he's going to lead off with a turn one Duress. And on the left is Joseph Deal, who's piloting the same Bant Delver deck that he's been playing the last few weeks. So a tempo versus control matchup here, while Vince writes down his Duress and picks the Rune Chanter's Pike, which seems like the best option there. Let's talk a little business about the tournament here. 28 people out tonight. This is the next to last FNM here at the shop before Standard rotates, or not rotates, but we see the release of Dragon's Maze, and Standard gets turned on its ear, so guys are down here trying to get their last little bit of business back in with their favorite decks. Sign him Blood for Vince, going to drop down to 18, net him 2 cards. And he's going to pass back. We'll be just myself here for commentary, at least for the short foreseeable future. I apologize if there's any choppiness in the video stream. I'm battling connectivity issues here tonight. The signal strength is not very strong, and I do not know exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, we see an on-curve Vampire Nighthawk from Vince, met by an on-curve Geist of Saint Trapped from Joseph. Tribute to Hunger, perfect answer to Geist. And then Vince is going to gain 2 more life off the tribute. So Vince is in a pretty good spot here. Of course, Vince's deck is playing, as you saw, main deck Duress. Tons of removal. He's also playing Mutilate. I can only assume there's Lilianas in this deck as well. There is another Geist of Saint Trapped. Not necessarily as good against a board that has a Nighthawk on it, but we know Joseph's deck plays a ton of bounce effects in both Unsummon and Simic Charm. Another Tribute to Hunger out of Vince, but an Unsummon on his own Geist. Saves the legend, lets Joseph replay it, but he does miss his land drop here. So Vince right up to 6 naturally, wishing that Grave Titan was still a card he could cast in this format. And Joseph is going to end of turn cycle his Thought Scour, milling a Geist of Saint Trapped and a card I can't see. Might be a Snapcaster Mage, so not the best Thought Scour in the history of mankind, but so Joseph going to serve in here with his Geist after bouncing the Nighthawk with Simic Charm, as we mentioned earlier. But Vince only down to 18 since he's gained a considerable amount of life already off of his Nighthawk. Looking at his hand, the only card I can see is another Zendikar Swamp. And then we see from Vince a Grave Betrayal. Grave Betrayal is a pretty crazy card. Basically, whenever a creature dies, or I think is put into the graveyard from play, it might be dies, I'd have to look up here in a second, it comes back into play under Vince's control with a +1/+1 counter. So that is effectively his win condition. Now every time he kills a Geist, he'll get it back on his board. But he is on a 2-turn clock now from the Geist. He's going to replay his Nighthawk and kind of hope that Joseph doesn't have another bounce effect. Snapcaster on the unsummon and clears the way for another Geist attack. Vince is going to ultimate price the Snapcaster. I believe this is in response to... No, this is end of turn. I apologize here for being slightly frazzled, but like I said, we are having some issues with the stream quality, so I'm trying to both sort that out while I'll commentate this match. It is a one-man show here. It's going to follow up with a Duress. So Vince adjusting his life total from the previous Geist hit. He's going to play a Vampire Nighthawk. So he should be okay here, but he is dead to a couple cards in Joseph's deck. He's dead to a Simic Charm pumping, I believe, here. But he does have blockers both on the ground and in the air for both halves of the Geist of St. Chaff. There's a Quirion Dryad. And just passing back. So Vince may have stabilized here at 6 life. Vince decides to serve in here with both his creatures, getting in for 5, dropping Joseph to 11, and gaining 2 from his Nighthawk. And he's going to clear the board with Mutilate. And he's going to get back both of Joseph's creatures. So in a pretty good spot here with Grave Betrayal. I'll be honest with you, when I came to the shop tonight, I did not think that I was going to be dealing with the card Grave Betrayal. But Vince is a good player. Vince, don't take this to be anything other than what it is, which is yep. So there, I was going to go remind them of this, how this ruling works. So Joseph Legend rules Vince's Geist of St. Chaff with his own, but since they both die at the same time, the Grave Betrayal will trigger. By the time the card comes back, there will be no Geist on board for it to Legend rule with the second time. So Vince will just get his Geist back. And then Joseph is basically dead next turn, so we move to game 2 with Vince Smith and his creative, dare I say, format warping mono black control deck, getting it done off the back of Grave Betrayal. So now it looks like, knock on wood, our signal issues have been sorted out, or at least it looks to me on my side that they have been. We'll take this time, like we do every week, to thank the fine folks here at Lost Legion Games and Comics for letting us stream their event each and every week. Lost Legion has 4 locations in West Virginia, in Parkersburg, Princeton, Beckley, and here in South Charleston. If you're ever in the greater West Virginia area, they basically cover all the major metro areas of the state. So if you're traveling through on business or pleasure, make sure you look them up, see if you can stop by and help support the store that supports our stream. We stream Friday Night Magic action here every week, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, give or take. If you're watching now, you obviously know where the site is, twitch.tv/ZachSellsMagic. If you could do us a favor by clicking the follow button below the screen and to the left if you're on the new version of the new layout, and above the screen and to the left if you're on the old layout. And if you're watching live on YouTube, not live on YouTube I said, but if you're watching YouTube recordings after the fact, make sure you can come out and try and catch us live sometime. If you can't make your FNM, come watch ours. So again, guys, I apologize for the technical difficulties there. I'm not sure how choppy that was, or how good the YouTube video is going to be, because we were suffering. It looks like we were still suffering from some considerable degradation in our signal. We are not wireless here. We are tethered in, but for whatever reason, I went outside to see if anybody was using the like using their laptop or something, but couldn't find any offenders. So might just be one of those weeks where our local ISP does not want to cooperate with us. Question in the chat about whether or not, as these guys fire off in the game too, whether or not we do any other formats. We have in the past, but the only regular format that we stream is standard on during FNM. The shop only runs standard for FNMs because that's the biggest draw. They could not get a considerable number of players to come play another format. But we will be streaming next week's pre-release. So next Sunday, mark it on your calendar. We'll be streaming the Dragon's Maze pre-release here at the store. And the best way to be reminded to come and watch that is, of course, to follow us. You'll receive an email notification whenever the stream goes live. So while I've been sorting out all that nonsense, promoting my own web broadcast and not dealing with anything else, Joseph plays a turn 2 Night of Glory into a turn 3 Geist of St. Traff. That's basically the best thing he could have done. Now he's protected from Tribute to Hunger here. There is a Vampire Nighthawk, which will keep the Geist at bay, but that Night of Glory might just attack 7 times by itself and get the job done. Of course, Vince is playing probably a full suite of Mutilates, and like I said, he is playing the aforementioned Tribute to Hunger, so he does have Edict effects that can deal with both hexproof and pro-black creatures, but these two guys are much more difficult to get rid of than, say, Quirion Dryads or Snapcaster Mages. Cycling a Thought Scour in his main phase. Joseph mills a Hinterland Harbor and a Sphinx's Revelation. So Joseph serving in just with the Pro Black Knight, knocking Vince to 14. Now we'll see if Vince does have the Mutilate. The fact that he's attacking usually indicates that he does have it, or at least has a follow-up Nighthawk. And there, in fact, is the Mutilate, so clearing the board. Now Vince is in a much better spot here as he's got a full grip. And at no pressure, stabilizing at a relatively high 14 life. And there's another Geist of St. Traff, but again, without another creature to protect it from an Edict effect, this Tribute to Hunger is going to be very good. Or Liliana Veil just as good, as the Warhammer guys start having a little bit of a ruckus out there. And there we see a Moorland Haunt. Will help Joseph fuel out some late game value. He is playing the Runechainer's Pike deck, so he's going to have a lot of value with those evasive 1/1 tokens, if it comes to that. Right now he's under Liliana lock, but he does find a Quirion Dryad and another Night of Glory. There's Bloodgift Demon from Vince. Let's see if it resolves. Well, of course, Joseph is tapped down to just 1 mana. His main counterspell in his deck is Spell Rupture, which is very good in the Quirion Dryad deck, but Obviously, you can't cast it with just one Glacial Fortress open. Joseph going to main phase mill himself with a Thought Scour. Is going to pump up his Quirion Dryad. Milling a Feeling of Dread, which is pretty good here, is going to allow him to tap down the Bloodgift Demon, and if he wants to, get in for 6. Semi-Charm is going to bounce. Now he's going to attack with his now 4/4 Quirion Dryad and the Knight of Glory. And the Knight going to take out Liliana. So Joseph now. Vince having stabilized earlier, now Joseph has fired right back. There's a Staff of Nin, which will be able to take out the Knight. But still facing down at least a 4/4 Quirion Dryad with the Feeling of Dread in Joseph's graveyard still. So main phase, take out the take out the Knight of Glory, I should say. Joseph is playing Unsummon and Pump effects, so doing it either in your turn, at the end of your turn, or during Joseph's upkeep is going to deny him the extra draw step to try to find something that would save his creature. But Vince still on a 3-turn clock here. Just landing another Quirion Dryad, then passing the turn back. Vince drawing 2 cards thanks to his Staff of Nin. Let's see if he can find another Mutilate. Of course, Mutilates are very good in the Mono Swamp deck. And unlike other Mono Black control decks, Vince is quite literally Mono Swamps. So a risky move there. Staff of Ninning the Quirion Dryad. Joseph could have flashbacked his Feeling of Dread to make his Quirion Dryad a 2/2. Would have saved it. I'm not sure what just happened. Oh, he made a token to sack to the Tribute of Hunger. I'm bad at this game. So make a Moreland Haunt token, removing the Quirion Dryad, sacrifice that token to the Tribute to Hunger, and keep your 4/4 Quirion Dryad on the board. Joseph down to just 1 card in his hand. Will this Tribute to Hunger work? Joseph still has a ton of and what happened there was the making a Moreland Haunt token, but with the tribute still on the stack. Vince going to ping the token, making Joseph sack his 4/4 Quirion Dryad, and now Vince in a great spot, having gained 4 life off of the tribute. Now he's going to land another Bloodgift Demon. Oh no, Curse of Death's Hold. Oh wow. Curse turning off all the Moreland Haunts. Joseph making a token in response, I think, just to spite spite Vince. But turns off all the Moreland Haunt tokens, turns off Knight of Glory, turns off Quirion Dryad, turns off Snapcaster Mage. Joseph is on the Geist plan, and the Geist plan alone now. Fortunate for him, he does have one in hand, or at least just drew one. But Vince drawing 2 cards a turn with the Vampire Nighthawk on board, in a pretty good spot here. Now there's some questions in the chat about the Moreland Haunt play, where Vince pinged the token, some issues of priority and whatnot. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure how it works. As I say every week, it's to a certain point up to the players to police their own games. We do the best that we can to correct things here, but I am a one-man show. Can't catch them all. Right now, I'm just struggling to try to see if I can keep the stupid stream from crashing. I don't know. We usually don't do that during the stream because of the effect. But I'm not telling you not to. But I was just curious.
Say how you are.
Okay. I apologize. I had to step out.
Just wait till the brain thing. Then I'll have all 17 thoughts from the car. My historical artists have AOEs. Well, they give continuous fire. Only AOE I have.
Alright. So, Vince piling in with a Vampire Nighthawk and a Bloodgift Demon. We're about one draw step away from Joseph scooping him up, I imagine. It's almost impossible for him to beat that Curse of Death's Hold.
Yeah. You got company or not?
No, Jonathan just walked in.
I'm not company. How's this going?
It's going awful. I think someone's out there using the network because the video's been choppy all night. Like, I've asked JB in the past to, ask people not to do that, but...
They're doing what now? Updating something?
So, I'm pretty sure somebody's streaming videos out there on an iPad.
Probably, yeah.
I know for a fact, but, I don't know. I don't have the authority to go out there and be like, hey, don't do that. But I've asked JB in the past, and he said, well, since your stream benefits the store, and people else using the Wi-Fi doesn't. But, I don't know. The problem is I can't figure things out that are going to be a problem until we're actually live.
And they're a problem.
And then I can't fix it by myself and also do everything.
It'll get better later in the night as people
Maybe.
and stuff.
Maybe. The problem is that every time some random decides to watch the stream and then tune in and it's 10 seconds of choppiness, they just immediately go somewhere else. I don't really know what's going on in this match anymore because I'd step out, but Joseph can't beat a Curse of Death's Hold. It's just a matter of time until he loses to two Bloodgift Demon, Vampire Nighthawk, Staff of Nin, and Liliana. You know how Vince won Game 1? Grave Betrayal?
Yeah, that's his top end.
Do you know what Grave Betrayal does?
Yeah, asked him if he still had that in there.
Yeah, he does. As we see Joseph scoop him up. The mono black. That's entirely Vince's deck. That's just that's just off the top of his noggin. But it gets it done. I mean, he's playing good cards. There's no super overpowered cards in it, Geist Reckoner, all those other Thrag Test, but they're all Duress is a good card, especially with all these counter all the flash cards going around.
Yeah. Probably about 20 minutes left now.
Yeah, there's a lot of time left. I'm gonna go out there and see if I can find somebody. Unless one of you guys want to.
Okay. Let me go look.
Yeah. That's my book. Alright guys, so I apologize again for the technical difficulties, like I was saying. I don't know, some weeks just don't got it. I'm just not really feeling it this week, and the technical difficulties are not helping me in any fashion, but hopefully it'll get a little bit better. Nothing more I can do on my end at the time being. I think somebody has sent me a link Trying to change some settings, but I thought I had settings maximized. So Scotty's stepping out to see if we can find another match, as we do have a considerable amount of time left in the round.
So there's one match finishing up. Going to game 2. It's I think a mono white light thing, and I think Flash. It's the match that was beside you.
Yeah, that's solid.
Was it you playing Flash the other day?
Yeah. Who won game 1?
Do they want to move?
I'll ask. You want me to ask them?
Well, I mean,
They're just picked.
Who-
They're up here.
is it people who've ever played before?
One of them, he's played
The human doctrine.
Never seen him before.
Oh, James.
Yeah.
Let me go out and see. Usually it's tough to ask people, like, entertain these people.
I'll try. It's pretty boring. Can't see the shot right now because he's scrolled up and I don't want to mess with his laptop, so just sit here in silence.
Alright, no one else is... No more magic.
Just text.
So as the problem that often happens... Uh-oh, test. This is me trying to get this together.
Trying to figure out which one to label.
I got it right. Get it? I got it right? So here's the problem. We do have...
For days.
Man, it's just falling apart tonight. It's a hot mess.
Stream's not looking that bad.
Well, it's just like...
I think it looks fine now.
Yeah, it looks good now.
Liliana the Veil is not for trade, is she?
Not for the cards in your book.
Not even the ones in my book that you said weren't for trade?
Yeah, those ones, yes. But it had to be those.
I'd be fine with that.
Why is it doing that now?
Snapcaster or something. What is it?
I'm trying to figure out what's going on with this.
Commentary too.
Oh, come on. So, oh, here we go. This is the problem. See, I did some stuff to try and make the stream work a little bit smoother this week, and I have been punished for that because it's not working any better. All right, there we go. You want to talk about some spoilers? Here's the situation. There's 28 people playing tonight. There are at least 2 matches out there that are going to another game. The problem is each of the match involves a person I have never before met in my life. And so it's very awkward to try and convince someone to play on the stream to begin with, let alone to stop in the middle of the match, pick up everything, and move over. So we do have 15 minutes left in the round, but we also have an entire week's worth of new Dragon's Maze cards to talk about. So do you guys want to talk about some spoilers? The answer is yes, you do want to. You don't get a choice. So, to the image archives I go, in no particular order. So this guy came out today.
I saw that.
Have you seen this guy?
Yeah.
This is Aetherling. Now, are you all familiar, since you guys are just babes in this game of Magic? And how long have you been playing?
2 years.
2 years, give or take 2 years. Okay, so original Morphling came out, I think, in like... Morphling was in Urza's Saga card?
The 2 years.
Yeah, Urza's Saga. So that's like 98 or 99?
Yeah.
You may have not been born at that point.
It was 4.
He was 4? Alright. So Morphling was the original, 5-drop creature with 1,000 abilities. And they've printed Torchling and Thornling, which are both like odes to that. And the latest iteration is Aetherling. It's a 6-drop 4/5. And you see its abilities there. The one that is most relevant, I think, is the Exile Aetherling, get it back at the end of the turn. So,
Is it end of turn or upkeep?
beginning of the next end step.
End step.
Yeah. So basically, you've got it is. I was talking about this before the stream started. The problem with Aetherling, I think this card's really good. But the problem with Aetherling is that they've printed so many other cards that are so strong that a card like Aetherling just doesn't look as good as it actually is. It does cost 6, so it's kind of rough. But people forget that before Drown Yard was the go-to win condition of choice and control, you actually had to play a creature.
Yeah.
Usually it was Grave Titan, or possibly Sun Titan or Frost Titan. But all of those were 6-drop creatures that, you know, it's not like they were hexproof or whatever.
Right.
Back in Zendikar days, you couldn't really play control, but when you did, you were playing like red, white, and blue control and Sphinx of Dwar Isle. The 5/5 hexproof or Shroud guy.
Yes.
He was the win condition in some of those decks. But basically, like, this card's very hard to deal with. Like, yeah, you might want to play it for 7 instead of 6 so you can leave the blink mana open. But you're obviously going to play it as a high end of a control, like as a win condition. This also is in the right colors to play this guy. Blink it, Supreme Verdict, and go. If you ever untap with all of your mana with this guy, like he's never getting, you never get rid of him.
Right. You know what I think about him? Limited Bomb.
Huh? Limited Bomb? Jonathan is trolling me because what I get annoyed with is that every time we have this discussion on our Facebook page about a new card, someone inevitably says, oh, this would be great in Limited. Yeah, of course, the 5-drop mythic creature is going to be good in Limited. Of course it is. I'm not gauging whether it's a second or third pick common in your draft pack. What do you guys think about this Aetherling?
Seems fine. Like you were saying, there's just better things.
This card is most closely compared to Obsidat, in my opinion, because it is that high-end like win condition in the slower decks. And they both have that pseudo-evasion where they blink. It's just that with this card, you actually get to choose when to do it. I mean, this card doesn't lose to Murder, and Obsidat does. Not that, you know, Murder is like necessarily something you should be like worried about necessarily, but Murder is a de facto name for any removal spell, you know, so. The chat asking if I'm looking at the chat and if the video is choppy on my side.
Well, that's like way back.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's being choppy again anyway.
Yeah, it's we're good.
I will have in between rounds, well, I don't know if I can do it or not, but I need to get JB to refresh the router. I'll be perfectly honest with you, if he keeps doing this all night and I can't figure out what it is, I'll just go home. Because I don't know. It's so frustrating to, like, I don't know. I'll let my Fridays back too. You'd think I can get some help from the store, but you'd be wrong.
I mean, you can go up, make an announcement out there, like, hey, get off the Wi-Fi.
Oh, I don't know.
You're out confiscating iPads.
So, I don't know. I like Aetherling. Aetherling is the kind of thing that I talk about all the time where it's like, Aetherling is a great Magic card. It's great. It's just that they print so much now. Like, all the cards are so amazing that you can't evaluate cards in and of themselves because you have to compare it to everything else.
Yeah.
Another card that's in that same kind of vein, which kind of occupies the same spot in the same kind of decks, is Blood Baron. Have you seen this card? The fact that you're reading all these indicates to me that you probably haven't seen it.
I haven't looked.
Yeah, so basically it's a 5-drop, it's a 4/4.
Oh, no, I've seen it, yeah.
The lifelink, pro white and pro black. Okay, so basically everyone looks at this card and they read the whole thing and they're like, well, how often are you going to get the second ability? Well, who cares? Second ability is completely gravy. Like, if you get to the point where it's a 10-10 lifelinker, then congratulations. Like, you're already winning that game.
Yeah.
And if not, like, okay, great. That's what happened. But it's the fact that this guy is pro every removal spell in the format except Mizium Mortars. That's the only way to deal with this guy. You can't even block him with most creatures. You can't block him with Obsidat. You can't block him with Restoration Angel. You can't block him with Armada Worm. You can't block him with... What other... You can't block him with...
Advent Token.
You can't block him with most tokens, honestly, if you think about it. You can't block him with Lingering Souls tokens. You can't block him with Celestian Charm token, Haunt token. What black creatures are getting played right now? Can't block. Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever black creatures are being played, you can't block with them. But the problem with this card too is like I'm not sure how great it is, and like it's like a mid-rangey card.
Yeah.
And against like I don't know. I see like Junk like probably playing this as like a sideboard card against like the aggro decks.
Yeah.
The problem being is that it's a great card against aggro decks, but also costs 5. And the aggro decks will probably be playing Mortars, which could answer this. But I don't know. There's a lot of decks that are not going to be able to beat this guy. I don't know. I think it's pretty good.
Doesn't match up well.
Like people were talking about how it's not a Baneslayer Angel. Well, of course it's not. Like,
yeah, you can't.
It's called Blood Baron of his Cup, but it's not called Baneslayer Angel reprint. But I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have to be a Baneslayer Angel to be a playable card.
It'll find some play. Somebody will try and play it.
Yeah, there's really no point in talking about these things, I guess, until I get this sorted.
And the audio is still fine.
Well, but it's still, I don't know. Trust me, they won't,
Yeah.
no one will watch this if, but, yeah, I don't know. You guys, I'm gonna step outside and see if I can find, alright. Well, we'll talk about one more then, until Scotty comes back.
See what this left. This one is.
This is my favorite card that's been spoiled so far.
Yeah, this one.
Catch and release.
Oh, okay.
Let's sit down for this.
So this is another prime example of what drives me crazy with card evaluations. Is that people look at this card and they're like, I don't know if release is very good. Well, who gives a rat's ass about release? This catch is amazing. And I've said this a million times.
Zealous Conscript?
Yes, I've said this a million times, both like here at the shop tonight on Wednesday, and then also on our Facebook page. But all I want to do is play this card in Modern, so I can steal a card and vindicate itself. Like I do that in Cube. Like it's something that comes up in Cube a lot is Zealous Conscripts your card and then blow it up, or Zealous Conscripts your whatever and ultimate it or whatever. Yes, it's a sorcery. Like people have complained because it's a sorcery. Well, what do you want? Like it can't be an instant. It's too good. Like it costs 3. I mean, Zealous Conscript's effect at 3 mana is so good. It's never dead. I mean, it's never dead. I don't know. That card's really good. You can snap it back. It slots in so perfectly in the American Flash decks because it's like a tempo card. You steal their blocker and you pound in with your Geist or your Reckoner or whatever. So good. Yeah, and then the other side of the card is like much like with the plus the 10/10 ability on Vizcapa Blood Baron, like release is just gravy on this card too. Like you're playing catch, and then occasionally in the late game you might be able to blow them out with release, which is basically it's pox for every permanent, right? So artifact, creature, enchantment, land, and planeswalker. Yeah. So each player it's like it's basically small pox for each permanent type. I don't know. It's a very slow, very awkward answer to one planeswalker, but I don't know. Any card that has that much utility seems like it's pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be just a hardline American control deck at this point that just splashes black for Drown Yard or whatever. And that card's gonna be very good. Like you play Terminus, like you build your deck to hardcast Terminus. So anything else is going on in the chat? What does everybody think? They did say something. They did say something either on the mothership or in the Twitter feed that this little goblin is in fact the goblin test pilot.
Yep.
So that's fun. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with the art over here. Like I know what's going on over here. Like he's somehow like brainwashed this Armadon thing and he's tearing it up. But I don't know what's going on over here. It's like some kind of worm just tearing it up.
Armada worm just
getting blown up. I don't know. It is phallic, so it could be Armada worm. Getting blown up by some kind of laser. I don't know. I'm very excited about this card. I think this card's very, very good. I think that's good in multiple formats. Like I don't know if it's good enough necessarily for like Legacy. Although now that I think of it, there are situations like that. Like you could steal a Jace when it's about to ultimate, and then ultimate itself. It is basically a win condition in that regard. But let's go through one more here. Oh, we already talked about this. Oh, they're already talking about it in the chat. Let's talk about this hot mess.
Selesnya.
Yeah. You see this one?
You seen this?
Okay. This card is hot garbage. And
Really?
we'll get into it a little bit later. We'll get into it a little bit later in the night. But
Reanimator.
There's like this massive design. It's not really a conspiracy because they've admitted it, but basically what happened with the Samara card is that this basically started as Voice of Resurgence. And then for whatever reason in testing, they determined that wouldn't work at Rare.
Okay.
So they swapped the rules text on Voice of Resurgence and Amara Tandris. And then that's how this. And then they, but then that still didn't solve the problem because still one of them was mythic.
Mm.
So they made and at the time, Advent of the Worm was Mythic.
Okay.
So they changed Advent of the Worm to Rare, and then moved Voice of Resurgence to Mythic to solve all that problem. Because if you'll notice in this one, this is art back here. The token, I can't see it, you know.
I've seen the spoiled art and I've seen
This.
the connections.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the token that thing makes, the elemental token or whatever. So it's clearly in the art. It should be making that one, but that's from Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah.
So they just basically it was like an 11th hour kind of design thing where Mark Rosewater on his Twitter account, which is @Miro54. I have the image that we can show, basically explaining all of this.
So the tutu was supposed to give all tokens indestructible, or she was supposed to...
I can't make this any bigger than this, but they're changed during playtesting because Amara's abilities were deemed too good as compared to the other champions. So like thematically, it was overbalanced, and so they were swapped to the abilities and converted mana cost of Voice of Resurgence, and then Voice of Resurgence would move to Mythic because they couldn't keep. They had a Mythic slot that they had to move. And it says it matches the flavor and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so that's what happened. Is basically there's a problem. And you can see that the thing you're talking about with the art, which is it's in there. And I'm pretty sure Mark Rosewater confirmed that on his Twitter account, is that happened. That's exactly what happened, so that's fine. So we're now joined. You're not Scotty Wright.
Yes, I am.
All right, we're now joined by Scotty Wright.
This is Scotty Wright.
I'm not Scotty Wright.
No.
Yes, you
so what are you
are.
guys? So Garrett Meadows and Jonathan Wright. What are you playing tonight, Garrett? Esper again.
Without the crappy card.
So you're playing Esper last week with 4 Time Walks,
And 4 Demir Charms.
and those are not there anymore.
Down to 1 Demir Charm and actual counterspells. And win conditions.
And then I'll give you 100 guesses as to what Jonathan Wright's playing.
You will all be wrong.
Mono Green Ramp.
Are you seriously not playing American?
What's your guess?
You've played American Flash for the last
Is that your
19
guess?
months. Yes.
My guess is Hexproof.
And the answer is,
Not playing Control.
Bant Hexproof.
are you playing Magic? Are you playing Yu-Gi-Oh?
No. Playing
tell
Solitaire on the back alone.
Just tell us.
But you're undefeated?
Yeah.
What are you playing?
Solitaire.
All right.
I'm playing Flash.
No, you tried to troll us, but then you trolled yourself. Play yourself.
Take your shirt off, Garrett.
Good.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
Still good.
Alright.
Zach puts his pen in his ear.
Yeah. That's my signature. As I put it in my ear. It's even on the stupid little.
Yeah.
If you look on our
Kind of looks like a cowlick.
on the yeah, I have a cowlick here.
Can we look at?
I have a cowlick and a double crown.
Your hair looks amazing in
Where's
this
Double
picture.
Crown at?
It does look amazing. Thanks as always to Tinder. It's sad because our we're of course talking about the caricature image that was drawn for me. It appears on that sign and then on the banner and all of my social media avatars, which was drawn for us by a young Swedish lady who was watching the stream with her fiance one. And they used to watch all the time, but now they don't watch it anymore. It's very sad. To be fair, they were watching at like 3 in the morning in Sweden, and they are in the midst. I talked to them on Facebook still, but they're in the midst of school, both of them in college, so getting kind of tough. So maybe they'll start watching again when we move to summer.
I see your comment, Evil Beard. I might comment.
I'm going to talk about another one here.
Sure.
This card's not getting a lot of press, but I think it's very good. This was spoiled not this week, but last week.
The Unsummoned Edict?
Yeah, Unsummoned Edict at Uncommon. It's pretty good limited.
That's pretty good.
But I mean, it's a pretty good, yeah, I mean, like, you're already playing, people are already playing, like, Simic Charm is unsummoned for 2. Like, and then, I don't know, this card is, both sides of it are overcosted by 1 colorless mana.
Right.
And then, both sides of it are perfectly relevant. They work well together, and there's going to be an instance where
You can cast both.
yeah, the decks that want to play this card are going to have 5 mana
Right.
to cast it. Bouncing. This gives me a lot of reminder of the old card Recoil. Did you ever play Recoil? Are you familiar? It was a card from like Invasion Block where it's like 1 blue and a black, instant
Did
bounce
they
target.
evade in that one?
Yeah, it bounce target creature, and then they have to discard a card.
Okay.
So like you have the instance where like it's a tempo card, but also like if you can kind of strip their hand, it is a straight removal spell.
Mhm.
But this is the same kind of way. Like you bounce whatever they have other than Geist, and then make them sack their Geist.
Yeah.
It's very common. I mean, I think this card's really good. There's actually a lot of strong Dimir cards that have been released, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the more powerful or one of the more successful guilds at the pre-release, which is coming up in a week. I thought it was like 2 weeks from now.
No.
And then like Cliff was telling me like this week, he's like, are you going to do anything for the pre-release? And I was like, well, I mean, that's like, I don't know, it's like in May, isn't it? He's like, oh no, it's next week. I was like, oh crap. Oh crap, now I have to play Magic again. This round's taking a long time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about another one. This card came out today. It's in Spanish. So Joao from Portugal, who's watching, can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the translation on this is Spike Jester, or Jester of Spikes, or something like that. But it is 3/1, as you can see, for 2 mana. And I believe Frieza translates to haste. And I think it's a Goblin Warrior. But basically, Rakdos is now getting a 3/1 haste creature for 2 mana.
Instead of a 2/1 haste creature for 2 mana. Or 2/2 that they have now.
Yeah, I still love still.
Yeah, you can play them both.
Yeah.
You can play all the haste creatures at once. But I don't know. I think this card's very good. Like three man. I mean, attacking for 5 on turn 2 is always very strong, especially in a format. Spike Jester is correct. And Evil Beard reminded me that recoil was bounce a permanent, not just a creature. So you could bounce a land if you wanted to.
That's what Demerava Horror is.
I was thinking about this. This is off topic here from this. I mean, this guy's pretty vanilla, but like it's strong. I mean, you talk about power creep. This is uncommon.
Do they have vanilla in Spain?
They do.
But
I was talking about. Did you ever play with the card Boomerang? Have you ever played with the card Boomerang?
No.
Are you familiar with what it does?
Goes back to your hand.
Yeah, Boomerang is a two blue bounce effect. It's an instant, but it's any permanent. So like I was wondering like, well, they could reprint Boomerang, and I'm like, no, they can't, because this is what happens. Like you play, if you're on the play, you turn 2, bounce their land. This is the worst. Like it happens it happened in my cube enough that I took it out of my cube. It's not really strong enough for cube anyway, but like cards that say permanent, for example, Obsidat's Aid. Reanimate target permanent. Pretty strong. That's the deck I want to see come out of the next set or next Dragon's Maze Standard is the junk colored reanimate everything.
You gotta have 4 color or 5 colors because you want to play that Nicol Bolas again.
I have a feeling tonight's going to be a long night because they just went to like legitimate time in round 1.
The life gain deck out there, guaranteed.
Yeah, probably.
I stepped over there. He had 2 Loxodon Smiters, 2 Ajani Sunstrikers, a cat, like Flink Cat.
Yeah.
Little Cathar.
The 2/2.
No, that's another 1/1.
Oh, I do want to.
Anyway, he was a ridiculous amount of life with 2 Chalice. Yep.
That should be in the game.
I do want to do this. I didn't do this last week, and I'm glad I checked my phone. So one of the guys who's followed us for the longest on Facebook is a gentleman named David Maroney, who lives in California. And this past week, he got engaged. So I want to do a shout out to him, and congratulations for that. It's always fun. That's one of the good things about being friends with me on Facebook, is that I send you a happy birthday greeting. Jonathan, don't send you one because you're not on Facebook. So no happy birthday to you.
Yeah, happy birthday. That's not a birthday.
Yeah, well, but that is one thing I do.
Obviously not going to wish I got her birthday. You're engaged, though, right?
Happy birthday, your engagement. No, congratulations to him. We did mention the Facebook page, which is at facebook.com/ZachSalesMagic. You can head over there if you want to. What was the thing I was going to write? Oh, about the Mark Marrow and the Imara controversy.
Oh, it's even worse right here.
Something is going on out there.
Gang on a maggot.
I do have some freebies to give away to people out in the...
What did Ian Strage say last week?
Huh?
Something Ian said in a different room when he was playing EDH.
Oh, I forgot about it. Yeah, were you in here watching with me on the stream?
No, I was at home.
Oh, but we noticed it?
Yeah.
Oh, it was something about like,
no, something for you, and then he like laughed.
Yeah, no, he went there like, no, something for you. Haha.
We can wait in here for the fairies to come in here.
Hey, Jimmy. Could you, are we cool with people not streaming stuff on their own computers during the stream?
Oh, yeah.
We'd asked that in the past, because my signal this
we're
week,
fine now.
the signal this week had been pretty bad.
I'll take care of it.
So, Jonathan narrowly missing the Wright brothers
my
round
God.
2. You're playing Barry Nelson at table 2.
Okay.
And Garrett, you're playing...
Stinky Pants Logan Cutler.
Why don't you all just play over there?
Sure. The O1s?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Logan.
Camera? What?
Yes.
But did you...
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so we've got a new round. We've got new pairings. I'm going to try and salvage this. I'm going to straighten my socks, take a deep breath. Yes, sir.
The only person on the computer is not streaming anything right now.
Okay.
Would you like me to try to reset the router?
I'm thinking that will just kill your thing, won't it? Is your tournament reporter...
Tournament will be fine.
Okay, you can do that if you want.
But it will kill your signal for a minute.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Okay.
Alright, so JB's going to restart the router, and hopefully that will solve some connectivity problems. Or we can at least cross our fingers. So the stream will go down briefly, but it's going to come back like literally immediately. So just brace yourself for that.